This morning I'm going to be talking about Agni Yoga and unification. Agni Yoga is probably one of my most favorite topics to talk about. Something we could talk about every day for the rest of our lives and still not really scratch the surface. But it's not only understanding Agni Yoga, it's also the practice of Agni Yoga. So that's what we're going to be talking about this morning. The practice of Agni Yoga, the importance of Agni Yoga in today's world, particularly among those who are striving on a spiritual path. Let me start with this quote. Yoga is the process of unification. The real essence of a person is scattered on various planes and caught in many glamours, illusions, post-hypnotic suggestions, and false eyes. The scattered, capital S self, must recollect himself, focus himself, and attain continuity in his wholeness. So that's what we are challenged with as human beings. The gift that the great ones have given us is a path to becoming this unified or whole being. So we have this wonderful, great gift of how to engage in the process of unification. But what I see is that no matter the greatness of this gift, we keep forgetting about it. Maybe if we were charged $1 million to pay for this gift, and we had to work really, really hard to save up our money so we could have $1 million, then I would bet you where humanity is today, where their consciousness is today, that they would not forget about that gift that they bought for $1 million. But because it's free, oftentimes we forget about it, we practice it sporadically. And so the growth of our soul, the unfolding process of our soul seems to be very, very, very slow. We default into mechanical behaviors. We live our life by opinions. We're self-absorbed as an individual, as a group, as a nation. It's interesting to think of a nation being self-involved, but we see it happening. So, people who are really dedicated to yogism, dedicated to unification, are exceptional human beings. And in being an exceptional human being, we need to recognize one another, find one another, and support one another's endeavor. To support one another's life purpose. And this is where the teaching of Agni Yoga comes into our lives. As we study Agni Yoga, we learn about the great ones, and that the great ones are with us, and the great ones are watching us, and the great ones will support our individual, group, and national endeavors. But we have to ask them. Isn't that interesting? We have to ask. We cannot assume, apparently, that they're going to be there for us. Why is that? I think it's because when we ask, it means we're cognizant of them. If we don't ask, our ego is making assumptions that we're important enough to be cared for. To ask requires humility. So anyway, that's my thought. So this morning's talk is about Agni Yoga. Agni Yoga is an advanced yoga. Agni Yoga is not a physical yoga. When I was talking to a person the other day, she said, I didn't know that there was a yoga that was not physical. That tells me we're not doing our job yet in getting the word out about Raja Yoga and Agni Yoga. But look at Hatha Yoga. Hatha Yoga is known all over the world, and it is one of the most popular yogas being practiced today. Yet the pundits of yoga say that Hatha Yoga is the yoga of the past. What does this mean? Well, Hatha Yoga served its purpose when we were just beginning the evolutionary path. As we were beginning that evolutionary path, we needed a yoga that would unify the etheric body with the physical body. But we've done that. Those that are continuing to practice that million-aged exercise millions of years ago, do you want to stay millions of years old without advancing, without growing, without evolving? No, you don't. It's just simply ignorance on the part of society. See, they're not educating themselves. They're letting other people say, Hatha Yoga is the way to go. So, where Hatha Yoga was an extremely important yoga to unify the etheric body with the physical body, it is no longer. And those that are practicing Hatha Yoga are now preventing their evolutionary growth. See, they're keeping themselves back in what we call the Lemurian age. Now, fast forwarding a bit, we have Raja Yoga. Raja Yoga is the closest yoga to Agni Yoga. Raja Yoga is not a physical yoga either. Raja Yoga relates to the disciplining of our mind. Agni Yoga is the next yoga which cultivates our consciousness in such a way that our unfolding human soul is now able to respond to the light of the higher mind and to the fiery worlds. And this is why it is the most advanced yoga today. The practice of Raja Yoga, this is a quote, the practice of Raja Yoga is a system of developing one's spiritual powers and union with the higher self. It asks for regulation and concentration of thought. Raja Yoga is opposed to Hatha Yoga. Hatha Yoga is a physical or psychophysiological training in asceticism. Now that quote is from the Theosophical Glossary, and I don't agree with it in total, but I understand what they're trying to say, and what they're trying to put forth is, number one, that Raja Yoga is not a physical yoga. It is actually learning to discipline your mind through concentrated thought. When a person has accomplished the goals of Raja Yoga, then evolutionarily speaking, your soul moves into Agni Yoga, and you have prepared yourself, and you're becoming increasingly sensitive to the light of the higher mind. Then with Agni Yoga, it moves from the sensitivity to becoming the light of the higher mind and moving into the spiritual triad, which is actually the realm of the fiery worlds. When you are functioning consciously in the light of the higher mind, now you are preparing yourself to build these extraordinary higher spheres of consciousness and bodies. So, since this is the most advanced yoga, we know that we're just in the beginning process, that aspirants and disciples, particularly advancing disciples, are leading the way. They are way showers, and they are struggling, and they're working really, really hard to build, to follow this pathway that the great ones gave to us, that lighted field that the great ones gave to us to say, here you are. Now, this is your next step. So those that are drawn into Agni Yoga already have the ability of concentration. They already have the ability, but not 100% successful yet, to control their thoughts. It's when we move into and become conscious of that light and love and will that's found of the substance in the higher worlds, that's when we know we must continue to work on concentration, meditation, and contemplation of our thought world. Much like what Richard was reading in the poem this morning. So Agni, here's a quote here, listen carefully. Agni Yoga deals with the highest fiery transmutations of all chakra centers. Transmutation, changing the quality of the centers, our 7 major chakra centers, undergoing transmutation. The high attainment of Agni Yoga can be reached only by a person who possesses age-long spiritual accumulations. Collected where? In the center of the chalice. If you read a post that I made yesterday on Facebook about the monad, you're going to understand exactly what this says. We don't become a full-fledged soul until we are given birth to in that chalice. The monad and the ray come together, create that spark, and over eons of time, the soul then comes into manifestation very, very, very slowly. Age-long spiritual accumulations, that's what's very, very slowly. Life after life after life, that then becomes collected in the chalice. The quote goes on to say another thing that is characteristic of Agni Yoga is that its achievement must be attained during everyday life. So we've been kicked out of the caves in the Himalayan mountains, come back into the villages, and now we're learning and serving every day. And then it concludes this particular sutra by saying, Agni Yoga is a synthesis of all yogas. That was from Agni Yoga, the book Agni Yoga, Sutra 145. Agni is known as the god of fire. I'm sorry, that's wrong. Agni is not Agni Yoga. Agni is known as the god of fire. Agni Yoga explains this fire by showing our soul relationship to 3 suns, including the physical sun. When we see images of the sun on the internet, especially on the NASA website, we usually see fire coming off the sun, rays and sparks and flares coming off the sun. So let's begin there. So first we're going to think of 3 suns. The sun that we see is the densest point of the true spiritual sun, which ensouls our entire solar system. Our entire solar system. This sun penetrates into each form and each atom through its flow of energy. I'm going slowly so your brain will absorb this. Okay. The teaching tells us that all that exists in the solar system is parts of the body of the central spiritual sun. We can perhaps best understand this level of unity when we think of our own bodies, how all of the organs and parts of our body form one unified mechanism. As above, so below. Now, the second sun. We also have a sun that is called the heart of the sun. The heart of the sun provides energy to all these subtle forms on the higher planes. This is the heart of the sun. Provides energy to all the subtle forms on the higher planes. The visible sun provides activity. I have to read this because I don't want to paraphrase. The visible sun provides activity and motion on our physical, emotional, and mental planes. This is the physical sun. Provides activity and motion. The heart of the sun provides a sensitivity. It's a key word, provides a sensitivity, which makes all of our communication, transmutation, and metabolism possible. So the heart of the sun is a living organism. It also enables expansion of relationship, our relationship with the higher worlds. Now, some people are going to say this is too difficult to understand. I don't need to know this. But there are some of us that say, I want to understand the mystery of life. What are these mysteries? It used to be called occultism, and now it's called esotericism. Doesn't make any difference to me what words you use. It is for these aspirants and disciples who have collected spiritually an accumulation in the chalice. When we come back, life after life after life, we're not satisfied with living a mundane life. So now we're back on the planet, and we have this hunger, this yearning to know once again, to become reacquainted with the mysteries of life. They're already in our heart, but now we are being pulled back into the mysteries. And this is an updated mystery. One of the mysteries about these 2 suns is that the visible sun controls the personality of advanced people. The physical sun controls the personality of advanced people. It is the heart of the sun that is influencing their higher nature. And then we have the central spiritual sun. The central spiritual sun is your capital S self, the capital S self. It also, I believe, includes the all self. So the central spiritual sun symbolizes or is actually an aspect of our capital S self dash monad, which means that when we become more and more and more the expression of this capital S self, we become more and more and more part of the entire universe, which is the all self. So just as these three suns, physical sun, heart of the sun, central spiritual sun, work together as a unit, our own nature works much in the same way. The personality, the soul, and the self. Now, any change or motion in the sun is instantaneously registered in all hearts of all forms, whether you are conscious or unconscious of the change. So I'm going to go back and repeat this. When I initially talked about the physical sun and the motion and the energy and the change, now we're going back there. These changes, the motion of the sun, is instantaneously registered in our heart, in the hearts of all forms. For example, when you think about the motion of the sun, you might think of how the sun travels through the zodiac. This is the only thing I could really come up with that's tangible to us. How each month the sun travels through a particular constellation. Some of us are sensitive to these changing influences. Some are not. Some are more responsive to the lunar side. Others are more responsive to the solar side or the sun. Some respond, some react. Those that are responding, they are becoming increasingly sensitive to the registration of the heart through the sun. Those that are reacting are still functioning through the lunar activity. As your integrated personality advances on the path of its evolution and initiation, you will gradually register more and more influences of the physical sun. Now, for those of you who don't know about an integrated personality, a personality is formed when our physical, emotional, and mental bodies integrate and act as one mechanism. As this integration takes place, and this takes place and is registered in the lotus, as we were studying in class a few months ago, as these petals, the knowledge, love, and sacrificial petals become increasingly unfolded, then that soul is like coming into a full conscious and awakening and conscious experience. And then what happens, the energy, this light and love and power of this illumined soul begins to pour through our entire personality. And now it is integrated. It's as simple as I can give it. As you register the pulsation of the heart of the sun, you become aspirants and disciples who then condense that energy, and transmit it, radiate it through all of your actions and feelings and thoughts. As you register the inspiration of the central spiritual sun, you become advanced initiates who cooperate with this central spiritual sun, the source of life. This is Agni Yoga. When you become sensitive to the central spiritual sun, you live, move, and have your being in the will of that great life. Such a person then becomes a direct outpost of divine light, love, and power. In Eastern phraseology, the person is called an Agni Yogi, which means a person that is unified in fire. When someone posted on our Facebook page, our Agni Yoga Living Ethics community, and they posted, it was actually a post from some other Facebook, and they put it on, the Agni Yoga Facebook page. It was this beautiful picture of a human being pulsating in light and energy, and then there's this quote. Nobody's going to know what that quote is. So it's like, what? Talking about this expression of the monad being in its fullest fiery form. What does that mean to us? So that's why I put a little, I rarely do this because typically when I give some of the teaching, then it meets with people's opinions. Well, in my opinion, no. We don't care about opinions, we want experience. Tell me your experience with your soul coming into existence and that process of becoming increasingly filled with fire and electricity and what that means in relationship to the monad. Talk about your experiences. I don't care about your opinions. Okay. Now, what does this mean to be unified in fire? As a human being, what does this mean to you? It means you become a natural healer. Physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, your presence heals. You don't have to do a laying on of hands. Christ gave us all these incredible stories and parables of what he could do. He didn't say, okay, now, here's a prayer. This prayer is going to heal you. This is what we want to move to, is that the presence of every human being becomes a healer to everyone else in its greatest sense. It means you can radiate light. It means you're radiating love. It means you're radiating spiritual willpower. Agni Yoga means to bring your inner essence into expression. Now, the scuttlebutt going on with Agni Yoga students are saying, well, we're now waiting for the next stage of Agni Yoga teaching, which will be given in 2025. Well, you better step it up. If you can't understand, this leg of the teaching, how in the world are you going to understand and live and experience this next phase of the teaching? The next phase is not going to be given to us if we're not ready. It's like when Torgrim Saradarian passed in those last few weeks, he said, I'm taking a lot with me because you're not ready for what I have to give to you. It's horrifying to hear that. So, Agni Yoga, until we understand this phase and can experience it and become it, we're not going to be ready for another phase in 2025, so don't look too hard for it. I'm going to repeat this. Agni Yoga means to bring your inner essence into expression, to bring your inner fire of electricity, spiritual electricity, into expression through particular qualities. These qualities are powerful and mark the nature of Agni Yoga. First, these qualities are simplicity, synthesis, beauty, truth, and sacrifice. Last night I watched the recording of a program called 2020 about Kayla Mueller, our dear Kayla Mueller from Prescott, who we all know lost her life because she was captured by ISIS and the terrorists. It was a very difficult program to watch and to listen to. Things came out through that interview with the parents that most of us did not know about. I started getting really angry and opinionated and decided, no, I can't do that because we don't understand spiritually what was going on. But what I tried to focus on were the stories of the people that were captured and released, and the stories they shared with us, about the sacrifices, the many sacrifices Kayla made. She could have saved her life. She could have walked out of there, but she didn't. She let others go. She didn't want to go with them because she was afraid if the terrorists found out she was with them that they would die. See? So this is sacrifice. This is what true sacrifice is about. How many of us are ready? Not many. Simplicity is very difficult to live in a complicated world and live a simple life. Synthesis means basically, essentially, to take all parts of the whole before making a decision, before taking an action, before drawing a conclusion. Beauty and truth we know about. Agni Yoga means to bring your inner fire into expression through concentration, which Richard talked about this morning as he was reading the poetry by Torquem. Concentration, unity, expression of our essence, fusion and purification. These are ways to bring our inner fire into expression. As an Agni Yogi, you are the person who unifies yourself with the whole, not the parts, with the whole. It's no longer my family, my this, my that. It's our, O-U-R. Our families, our nations, our planet, our universe. We unify ourselves with the whole, with the essence of all. Because we are truly unified with fire, we radiate fire, will, purpose, energy, joy, and bliss. There are 3 stages in Agni Yoga. The first stage is becoming yourself. Becoming yourself, that's where most of us are right now, trying to become ourselves. Not what mom and dad said we were, not those radical teachers that said we weren't going to do this, we couldn't do that. I hear so many stories like that, how people have negatively influenced us in such a way that we bought into it. And it prevented us from becoming ourselves. So we have this first stage now where we are trying to contact our own inner self, changing our level of consciousness from the physical to the emotional to the mental to the intuitional, atmic, and monadic. Until we make contact with our innermost self. The second stage is union with the self in every human being. We saw glimpses of this in that interview with Kayla on 2020. She didn't think about herself, although she did, but she wasn't focused. She didn't concentrate on herself. That's her selflessness. That's the gift that we were given if you saw that interview or have read about her experience. The union with the selves and others is possible only after we unite within ourself and become our capital S self. In this state, we become totally sacrificial and a compassionate person. You live in such a way that there is no difference between you and others. The third stage is unity with the self of the universe. This self, this capital S self, is latent in us in every form in the universe, from the mineral to the vegetable kingdom, to the solar system, galaxies, and zodiac. This is the stage where cosmic consciousness starts. This is the path. And we are told that every sincere student and dedicated worker must travel this path. It is a very hard path, and its whole unfoldment is nothing else but yogism, unification. Yogism is unity with the spirit within other selves and unity with the spirit of cosmos. All development, all knowingness, is the process of at-one-ment, integration, alignment, and fusion with the divinity within us, within others, and within the universe. To unify your personality, to integrate and align your personality, your soul, and your spirit, you must do a couple of things. The first step, I'm rushing through this because I've got 3 minutes left. The first step is to release the fire of destruction. This could be another whole talk. What is the fire of destruction? But we have to release the fire of destruction and clean all that cannot resist the fire. You must use the destructive fire to clean your habits and your glamours and illusions and laziness and uncontrolled speech. That's a big one, uncontrolled speech. Negative emotions. That's an even bigger one, to control negative emotions. Thoughts that are based on hatred and lies and untruth or ego. Then you must live a life that is dedicated to the welfare of humanity. That's just the first step. The second step is thinking in terms of wholeness and unity. So we've gone from the fires of destruction to now to the fires of construction. Thinking in terms of wholeness and unity. And the third step is transfiguration of your physical, emotional, and mental nature. Your life, your city, your country, the world. As human beings create unity and harmony, the great centers will unite, and the world will turn into a symphony. Agni Yoga has high standards, which we call virtues and spiritual achievements. Agni Yoga is not yoga through which you accumulate knowledge, but a yoga through which you live according to standards that reflect your vision of achievements. And I'm going to end there because I think we get it. Now it's just to be it.